So Australia are 2-0 up in this Test series. They have dominated for the first 3 days of the game. There was some fight from England today. Ben Stokes making 50, shared a partnership of 96 in 36.4 overs with Will Jacks to delay the inevitable. England 241 all out. Atkinson picked up a couple of wickets. Travis Head bowled for 22, and Labuschagne got a snorter and was caught behind by Jamie Smith for 3. But Steve Smith finished it off, 23 not out, and hitting the last ball for 6 to give Australia their emphatic victory. Michael Vaughan, sum up today from England. What did you see from England today?
Well, I saw more discipline with the batting hand. Ben Stokes is an incredible leader, an incredible fighter, but Will Jacks played a really strong hand as well. They were always so far behind the game. The game's been lost in many different areas. Day one, you look at the score of 325 for 9, you think, well, that's quite decent. Realistically, they were probably 100 light in terms of par. The shot that Harry Brook played to Mitchell Starc, when England were really dominating the game. In Australia, you need players to get big hundreds, and if you keep getting 30s and 40s and fancy 50s, well, that's not going to get you to those really big totals. With the ball on day 2, just got it all wrong in the initial start. Then they kind of grabbed it back in the middle session. Then they created chances in the back end of the day, and the catching just wasn't good enough. And Australia, they just know how to capitalise. Australia's skill sets on day 3 were exceptional. England made too many mistakes last night. They needed to arrive here on day 4, probably 3 down. So that needed a different approach last night. From the way that I saw it, it was like the Bazball way. This is the way that we played. Today wasn't the Bazball way. It was attritional. It was like Starc and bowling yesterday. But you have to look at Australia's bowling today when the pitch didn't do a great deal, but they were just so consistent on a length. They never kind of went away from the plan. Every now and again they bowled a few short balls, but it was hit the off stump, Michael Neser. And it's quite ironic, Simon, that you look at the England side and they've come down here with a lot of pace. And I'm looking at Australia, Boland, Neser, Doggett, they're all English style seam bowlers. And I've been here for many, many years, and I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years a completely different change to the pitches and the ball here in Australia. I know the pink ball has been used this week, but the top of off stump bowlers like an Anderson, Broad, Wokes, they're the type of bowlers that you need here in Australia. Of course, to have a bit of pace and have a little bit of change up, fantastic. But what I've seen in the last few years, it's top of off, that natural pitch-up bowler that can challenge the forward press, challenge that forward defence. You bring your keeper up. That's been a genius move. Alex Carey, I think, has had as good a game behind the stumps that I can remember. We've seen Ben Foakes in India, against the spinning ball, magnificent. But Carey's just given a masterclass of how to stand up to the bouncing ball at times. So brilliant tactics from Australia. England have just got to be honest. Not enough players are turning up. You can't win against Australia in Australia with just 3 or 4 of your players rocking up and performing to a level and beyond. You need 6, 7, 8 players playing to par at least, with 3 or 4 playing exceptional kind of innings or bowling performances. All facets of England's game this week have not quite been good enough.
What did you make of Ben Stokes' approach today?
Liked it. I think he did what he had to do. He had to try and take the game deep. He was just hoping that he could be there for that second new pink ball. I know that sounds mad under the lights, but it was probably the one chance England had of scoring quickly. With the old pink ball, it's so hard to score quickly because it goes so soft. And Steve Smith is a brilliant captain. He does read the game great, and he kind of plays the in-out field game. He brings them in at the right time to try and force the shot. Once you get 1 or 2 away, he just spreads it. England tried the best, but it was all too late. And then Joffrey's spell there, and Gus, you look at them and go, they bowled nicely, but I want to see my bowler bowling 150 kilometres an hour on the first morning in Adelaide. If the sun's shining, I want to see that contest again, Jofra Archer versus Steve Smith. It was almost too late. But again, you see that, he's got so much talent, and he is the one bowler that I look at and think, if he can just get it right, he could have a Mitchell Starc type of week for England. And it looks to me like they're going to have that kind of week from someone like Jofra Archer. They'll have to make change. You can't keep with the side that have gone 2-0 down. There will be changes going into Adelaide.
So what sort of changes can they make? Jacob Bethel made some runs today for the Lions, 71. Bowling changes, batting changes. They haven't made many batting changes, have they? For a long time now, it's been a very settled batting line at the top 7.
I think they have to seriously consider Ollie Pope's position. He's just looking like he's played plenty of games against Australia without a 50, so I think there's a little bit of a mental scar against Australia for Ollie Pope. You bring in Jacob Bethel. I've said it a long while ago, could Ben Stokes bat at number 3? Could Edith Sale bat at number 3? Then Will Jacks bats at number 6. I think it's such a big risk to bring in someone like Jacob Bethel into this kind of series when the team's 2-0 down. He's never got a first-class 100, and you're expecting him to go and deliver against an Australian team with the likes of Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon back into their team. So the bowling unit for me needs to change. I think Matthew Potts, an English-style pitch-up bowler, is probably something that could be required. Adelaide might not be that style of bowling weak, but they have to rotate the bowlers. Josh Tonga got 18 wickets in the summer, 5 against Australia in 2023 in that one test match. He hasn't played a game yet. He does get wickets, and England just need to find a way of not only obviously getting 20 wickets, but Australia are scoring too quickly. They're scoring so quickly against this England side from the second innings in Perth to the first innings here. The only reason that the kind of scoring rate went down is because Boland and Stark thought, nah, we'll just bat for a bit of time. Up until that point, they were scoring at well over 5, so there's huge problems for the England team.
Glenn McGrath is here as well. We'll get some reaction. We'll hear from Ben Stokes and anyone else that the England camp put up. Glenn, what's your assessment of what you've seen over the last 4 days? We thought it was going to be 3 and a bit, but it ended up being 4 days.
Yeah, so you just like to see what England learnt from the first test and whether they put them in play here. And you probably look at that first innings. It's a great innings by Joe Root. You can't take anything away from him, and that's a one little mark against his name. Never had 100 against Australia. Came out and did that here. You take that out, it's completely different. And again, it's just, to me, it also showed that England haven't played much day-night cricket. I reckon they still should have declared in that, had half an hour at Australia. Who knows? They could have picked up 2 or 3 like we saw here tonight. And then yesterday, when Australia's batsmen in, firstly, Carey and Nisa, and then especially with Stark and Boland, the way they went about it to drag it as long as possible to get that newer ball under lights, and you saw the damage they did. England should have realised that and just thrown everything at them. We have to get these last 4 wickets well before night, so that that pink ball's a lot softer, a lot older going into that night session. So, yeah, there's a lot of things there where England needed to pick up. The way Stokes fought today with Jacks, you expect that from Stokes. He's a quality player. He's a great player. The way it finished off, that's the way it goes.
The way England played today, I'll bring Tuffers in a moment, but the way England played today, Glenn, do you think there's a sort of pointer to the future, actually, that it is better to just play within yourself a bit and not play in a sort of over-aggressive way?
Yes and no. You've got to pick the situation and how the game's going and assess the conditions and adjust and adapt accordingly. In Pakistan, the way they played, they took it on and there were conditions for that. The first 2 tests have not been conditions for hitting balls off short of the length, bouncing. So, there was a few little improvements, especially in the sort of last, probably more so today. But even the way they finished off, Geoffrey Archer came in, had a bit of fight in him. He was having a chat. He was bowling sharp. He was bowling, getting aggressive. But the game's gone. Where was that on day 1?
Let's go down to Jonathan Agnew. He's down there on the boundary edge, and Brendan McCullum, the England head coach, is walking towards him. We'll hear from Brendan in just a moment.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Yes, Brendan McCullum is with me. How do you reflect on that, Baz?
Obviously disappointing to go 2-0 down in a 5-match series makes things pretty tough, but we've been here before and we're going to have to make sure we stay tight as a group and iron out a couple of the chinks that we've shown over the last 2 test matches, because when you come to Australia you can't be below your best and you need to make sure you seize every opportunity. I think I look at a few moments in this test match and I think there was times where we had ascendancy with the bat and we probably let that slip. There was times where we didn't execute with the ball as well as we should have and didn't adapt to the conditions that we were presented with as quick as we could have, and clearly our catcher was an issue as well. And it's very hard to beat Australia at home if you're gonna be deficient in all three of those areas. So we got some work to do. We've got some time. But we've been here before, and there's no point feeling sorry for yourself. You pick yourself up and you go again.
Yeah. And you pointed the finger at basically all three disciplines of the game there, batting, bowling and fielding as being issues.
Well, we weren't at our best, right? And I think to beat Australia in Australia, you need to be at your best across all three disciplines, and we weren't. That's the brutal honesty of it, and we'll wear that. And from our point of view, we know that we need to get better. We need to be a lot quicker to adapt to the conditions that we're going to get in Adelaide. Because I thought we were a bit slow to adapt to the conditions here, and I think we were showed by Australia when they bowled in that second innings, the lengths that they hit, the adjustments they made, and they put us under a lot of pressure, and we weren't quite able to do that when we had our opportunity. So look, there was some positives in it as well, but there was, obviously when you lose is you try and grasp onto some of those positives and you try and iron out some of the negatives. But we have time, and we've got to make sure that we don't lose heart. We've got an opportunity to bounce back, and we've got a chance in 9 days' time to be able to put our hands up and be better than what we were in this one.
Yeah. I mean, ironically, a lot of what we saw today actually is what England fans have been calling out for.
Yeah, look, I think we scrapped hard today, I think on a pitch like this and conditions that you're confronted with, it's not a natural free-flowing type of surface today, and the situation needed us to try and bat as long as we could and try and get as many as we could. Whether that was 140, 150, it would have given us a chance on a pitch which, even right at the end there, we saw still had some tricks in it. We just weren't able to capitalise on it. We didn't get enough runs in our second innings, and we gave away too many runs in our first innings, and ultimately, hence why we ended up only having 60 to defend in the last innings.
Is there anything you'd have done differently looking back now? There was a bit of a break these last two tests. Would you have done anything differently coming into these games?
Not from a preparation point of view. If anything, we probably trained too much, to be honest. We had 5 intense training sessions leading into this game, and that's something as a coach you've got to make sure you're aware of. I think sometimes there's a tendency to want to overdo things to try and to make up for it, but as we all know in this game, it's played in the top 2 inches majority of it, and you've got to find a way to be able to, we all have to find a way to be able to ensure that we feel prepared physically, we're prepared technically, we're prepared for the battle, we adjust to the conditions as quickly as we can, but also make sure we're fresh and we're ready and we're able to make those succinct decisions in the heat of the battle, which can win and lose games.
See you in Adelaide. Thank you, Baz.
Thank you.
Right, this is Brendan McCullum talking to me. We'll get Ben Stokes in just a few moments, I think. So if you listen out, he's actually talking on the television at the moment, and then he'll be talking to me.
Tough as this here. Train too much. That's an interesting comment, wasn't it? But I can sort of understand that to some extent because they hadn't had any pink ball practice at all. You had to suddenly go fast forward and train quite a bit for the pink ball.
Well, yeah, perhaps there a little bit. I mean, but what sort of struck me was that they just didn't grasp the situation, kept playing these shots. Glenn mentioned it earlier on, very quickly you find, and they got away with that. I can remember, what was it, Pope, and I'm not quite sure, Crawley or something like that. They went through this period where they'd got on top and they'd wrestled a little bit of initiative away from Australia, and then they had this period where then Ollie Pope started skimming them over the slips, and Crawley skimmed a few over the slips. Surely then you go, you walk down, you do a bit of gardening, you have a chat with your mate and say, listen, we've had a little bit of luck there. Let's just tuck up here a little bit. It's coming into the pink, it's coming into the darkness and what have you. You've just got to be a little bit more circumspect. You've got to learn, you've got to do your learning and your practice and everything before the game. But, a lot like life, you know what I mean? You've got to then adapt through, you've got to go through the gears. You've got to sometimes pull back on the gears, sometimes put a shot away that you think you can do, but then as the lights come down, you can't do it, like those big hacks outside off stump to start. But yeah.
Right. Ben Stokes is approaching Jonathan now, so let's go back to Jonathan.
Yeah, just miking the captain up. Well, Ben, how do you feel after that?
Yeah, obviously disappointing. Again, I think looking back on this game and something that I sort of can take a little bit of sort of, stuff happening over and over again, and it's the moments in games where the game is in a moment of it's neither here or there, and Australia have managed to get through those periods whether they've got the bat in the hand or the ball in the hand and outdo us. And that seems to be, the constant theme, not only in these first 2 games, but over a long while. So I can stand here and say I know it's not down to a skill thing because of the players we've got in that dressing room. They're all incredibly talented players. They've shown that on numerous occasions. But if you can't put it down to a skill thing, then you start to wonder, what is it? Do we need to start thinking about what mentality we're taking into those pressure moments? Because when we're on top, we're great. When we're behind the game, we're also very good. But when that moment of the game is neck and neck, we're not coming out on top on enough occasions to be able to challenge a team like Australia. And there's going to be some conversations going on in the dressing room that I'll keep to the dressing room. I fully back my players that we're able to bounce back from this and deliver what we need to deliver over the next 3 games. Because what else are we supposed to do? We're 2-0 down. We've got 3 games left. We know we've got to win them.
Can you learn from watching how Australia? I mean, Australia did play a pretty decent game here tactically as well, didn't they?
Oh God! I mean, look,
it's probably a blur now.
Oh no, it's not necessarily blur. I think, as I said to you there, it's the moments in the games where it's on the line. Is it fight? Is it character? Is it the mentality that we're taking out there as a group? That's what I got to find out. That's what I got to ask. It's a saying that we said a lot here in the dressing room. Australia isn't for weak men, but a dressing room that I'm captain of isn't a place for weak men either. We need to dig deep. I need to dig deep, and I need to get this team in a place where we do go out there in Melbourne and we are seriously switched on and understand where we are right now.
Yeah. And does that involve conversations with individual players and points in this match that you will bring up as conversation points?
Individual chats. I think they happen constantly, Aggers. I think it's, we are one team, but we're made up of 11 players. When it's a team thing, and as I say, if I feel like it's something that's constantly happening, then I need to address it. I got no doubt about the guys in there are capable of winning the Sashes. I'm capable within myself as a leader and as a captain, and my skill set as a player. We can't not speak about the things that I think has, potentially, gone wrong over these last 2 games.
Yeah. Ironically, there were parts of today that actually went really well, showing the sort of spirit, I think, and the character, and that's down to you as well. But the way Jofra Archer ran in at the end there, a couple of wickets taken, I mean, it actually looked good from the sidelines.
Yeah, and look, that's it. I try, as a captain, you try and put a little bit of your own influence within the team, as your own personal character. And all I asked for last night and this morning was from everyone who still had, a responsible thing to do in this game, especially with the bat, was just show fight. We talk about taking the scoreboard out of the equation, and I asked the group to take the scoreboard out of the equation and just fight. I think me and Jaxie did an unbelievable job at doing that. But look, the guys lower down the order, yes, they have an unbelievable ability to be able to score us some runs, but they're batting down the order for reasons. It's tough to expect more and more from them down the order, if that makes sense. We've got to take some responsibility there as a batting group, especially that top 7.
Yeah, and hopefully to rein in some of the looser shots that have been played. Is that a fair comment?
I think when there's some of the stuff there, I think it's a mentality thing, and again, we seem to see those kind of things in that pressure situation when it's neither here or there. We've managed to wrestle the first 2 games and moments back towards us, and then Australia have got the momentum back. I see that as it's a common theme when the game is on the line. When the pressure is on, where are we at? What are we thinking about? Are we clear to go out there and do what we need to do to get us back in the game? That's something that, as I said, I'll be addressing all this kind of stuff in the dressing room. I ain't going to sit here and spurt it all out.
Okay. Last thought. There's still 3 games left, Ben. You're confident you can win?
Incredibly confident. I always am confident of the guys who get to put the shirt on. Confident within myself that I can lead this team to a pretty impressive bounce back. What else can I do? Where else can I be with my mind? And I'll be doing everything I possibly can to do that.
Thanks for talking to us. Okay, cheers. There we are. Well, there we go. I think Ben Stokes in extraordinary reflective mode there. Simon, he's going off to have his conversations, and looking into his eyes, different to the other week. That's someone who's really got a lot on his mind, and I think he's got a lot to say, and he knows he's got big challenges ahead, but he is going to dig deep into the mentality of that dressing room and find out what the problems are, and when those moments come in which there is that situation change, that it's not Australia that grab the initiative every time.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he didn't name names. You would never name names in a situation like that. But what do you think, or who do you think he was referring to?
Top 7. The top 7 batsmen. That's who he's talking about, isn't he? It's quite clear, I think. The way that they've been getting out, and the way that they've been allowing Australia to get back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it was a really interesting interview.
It's an interview. I'd like that to have gone on for another 15 minutes. You're not allowed to do it, but he was in a talking, get some stuff out there sort of mood there.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard the Baz Stokes, partnership sort of say these things keep happening. And if they keep happening, we have to then address them. So how are we then going to address it? And John, I don't necessarily think it's just the batting as well, it's the bowling as well. Look at Neser, John. Look at Neser, just comes up there, professional, top of off stump. And he keeps saying that Australia then wrestled the initiative back. They wrestled the initiative back just by sometimes pulling back. When we try to wrestle initiative, we kind of go harder, and then that gives the initiative sometimes if it doesn't come off to the opposition. So, sometimes just by ploughing on forward isn't getting the initiative. Like Anisa, the wicket went flat, and he just top of off stump, good professional bowling, went about his craft, and that's the way of getting it back.
Yeah, I was interested, particularly in the way he looked as he was saying those words. They are going off for a bit of a break now. There is some time until the next Test match. He's going to be dealing with stuff. I think that was absolutely the message. He recognises that there is an issue. He wants to find out why certain players are not responding in the right way. I think he's talked about individual conversations to go through it all, and he said, "I'm going to find out what the problem is." So I think this break for him probably comes at a good time. Actually, the way he was speaking there. He knows that there's a lot to be done, and I don't think, I interviewed Ben Stokes a lot. That was an entirely different look. People can say words, but it's how you look into the eyes as well, and that was a very, very determined looking Ben Stokes.
Yeah, I mean, there's my dressing room is not a place for weak men. No. I mean, you can draw your inference on that, can't you? I mean, that's quite a strong comment to make.
But weak doesn't necessarily mean playing more shots. Weak sometimes was what Ben Stokes did there with the bat.
Well, I wonder, just listening to him there, I wonder whether the innings he played today was kind of like a bloody-minded innings to say, look, this is what you've got to do, everybody.
Absolutely.
It was actually
Absolutely.
It wasn't, we're going to save this game, we're not going to win this game, but look, this is what you can do if you apply yourself. Whether he's trying to lead by example out in the field.
We're not going to give an inch. That's basically what he was saying. We might have lost this game, which they clearly had, but we are not going to give an inch. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how they come out. And the way that Jofra Archer ran in this evening, for instance, and he bowled like lightning in a losing cause. Maybe there have been a few rockets fired already in that dressing room. We'll see. I mean, again, we've talked a lot about all sorts of things, preparation and all of that. We'll see how they turn up in Adelaide next week.
Does it mean, do you think, John, it's difficult, we're trying to read something into words that to some extent were in code, because you don't name names, do you, in a situation like that?
No.
But does that mean, do you think that means potentially changes in the top 7?
I think he's going to be listening very carefully to what each player has to say. He'll have those in his mind who I suspect who he will feel have not given their best so far, and I suspect Ollie Pope might be on that list. And as we talked last night, there's just no competition for places. This is the problem. There's no player under threat in that team apart from Ollie Pope, and that's been the case from the very start because of Jacob Bethell. But Jacob Bethell can't open the batting. Jacob Bethell can't keep wicket. Jacob Bethell's not going to bat anywhere else. I mean, it is a very strange setup in which there is just no competition. So these players are going to have to respond, but unfortunately there isn't the bottom line that is usually the case in these teams, in which it's made pretty clear if you don't sort yourself out, you're out. You're gone. Harry Brook, you play another shot like that, I don't care if you're second best in the world or whatever the rankings say. If you do that again, then I'm very sorry, but that's unacceptable. But that can't happen in this team because there's no one else.
Yeah, well, as I said, it could be a little bit of a change attack. Could be a change attack.
So change of approach, do you think?
Well, change of approach, absolutely. Well, it has to be a change of approach because this approach clearly has not worked.
It's not working,
but then, no, absolutely. But like you said, I mean, Harry Brook absolutely filled to the rafters with talent. But I think what he was saying there, that you might be, but you play a couple of more shots like that, it doesn't matter how much talent you've got to prove it on the field with a big 100, and that means graft, knuckle down, application, and play the situation. And that was a great interview, and I think that there will be a few rockets fired now in this dressing room from Ben Stokes.
I wouldn't like to be in that room. I mean, he wasn't looking aggressively at me at all. This was steely determined, ice cold, very reflective, choosing his words very carefully and saying what he said absolutely deliberately. I mean, Ben Stokes is not a stupid individual. He said that on here for the public consumption absolutely deliberately.
Yeah, and I don't think that dressing room now might be coming back in like that and taking your gloves off and saying, well, that's just the way I play. That's what I sort of felt from that.
Absolutely.
If that's the way you play, I don't care how good you are, I don't care how much we've invested in you, you're not playing. I think that's a change of tack right there.
Yeah,
what did you make of it, Glenn?
We'll see.
What did you make of it, Glenn, listening on?
No, it's interesting trying to listen to what he's saying, but also what he doesn't want to say.
Yeah.
There's a few things there. I guess it's got to the point now. There's been a lot of talk about Bazball for a couple of years now. This is make or break. There's no, if we lose the next few games, I will continue on with it. It's all or nothing now. And just listening to him, to me, it's about, they've got the talent. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But then it's applying yourself for adapting to the conditions. Okay, I can go hard now, or it's a bit tough. Okay, get through this tough period, then assert myself again. So, and that's where they haven't made the right decision. So it's more mental side of the game. And when he said, "Oh, we're great front runners. When we're behind, we're great," it's that middle period when neck and neck, and Australia gets the ascendancy. But you look at Perth; they were miles in front, and they threw it away with shot selection. And after lunch on day 2, they were 100 in front, 1 wicket. All of a sudden, Australia's chasing 200 and gets it. So they were on top. Didn't assess the situation. Keep batting out there. You can always sense the opposition when they're vulnerable, and that's when you can attack. When it's sort of level pegging, you've got to work hard. So there's
exactly about Perth, like you said, Glenn, 100 ahead. Now they went hard, and then that's what their undoing was. And I think now, when you're 100 ahead, if anything, buckle down batten down the hatches a little bit and grind them and make sure you get there. So I think it's going to be a completely different England side that we're going to see turning up in Adelaide.
But not different necessarily in personnel, but in
I don't know how they all slot in. I mean,
hopefully in attitude, in accountability, from the team and from the individual sort of perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, you just said it there. I mean, it's very hard to overhaul this team, especially the batting order. I mean, there is Jacob Bethell. He did make some runs for the Lions today against Australia A. And they do have Lions players here. I mean, you don't think they would do something really radical and blood a couple of, not new players, but players who haven't played in the series, perhaps from outside the squad. I mean, not the Lions have done particularly well in their first innings. They're brought out for 160. They don't have that much room for manoeuvre.
No, they haven't. They've got none. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they played Bethel, actually, just because the way the tours are now, and I know they've got a few days off now and they will reconvene in Adelaide, but there's no escape. You know, if the same bowler's getting you out all the time, and there he is running in at you again the following week. We saw it in the COVID series, didn't we, 4 years ago? You know, there's no escape for the batsmen in particular, but also the bowlers who run in, and you know, Steve Smith again has made his mark here again, isn't he, against Jofra Archer? There's no means of getting away. So sometimes just freshening something up, but might be a good idea. I think Ollie Pope was disappointing in this game. They really rave about Jacob Bethel, don't they? So that, but it's the only change they can make, apart from switching a bowler or two. I think Will Jacks has done himself a lot of good in this game. You know, first innings he played pretty well. Second innings played really well. Showed the right temperament, and that I think is what, you know. I think temperament is probably what Stokes was talking about there. You know, when they're going at stuff, and Glenn was right. You know, you have that opportunity. You've got to grab it. You've got to take it, and not let Australia wrestle it back again, which is what's happened so far. They've had opportunities in these two games, but they've just not taken them, and that's it must be so frustrating to be the captain in that situation. You can see the opportunity is there, but it hasn't been taken. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But they tend to be very loyal, and they tend to keep. You know, we heard Brendan McCullum say to me there, we keep it tight. That's the way they like to do it, and that's what they've done. They've come here more or less with with 12 or 13 already inked in. They can change a quick bowler or two, but maybe that might be a change that we look out for.
Aggers, it's a familiar theme, 2-0 down in Australia, but actually it was 2-0 last time in the Ashes in England. There were two tight test matches. England lost them by 2 wickets and by 40 odd runs, and Ben Stokes, I remember him saying, I think it was actually Brendan McCullum saying at Lord's, we can come back and win this series. Is there any way back realistically for England from here?
Well, it doesn't feel like it when you're standing out here in the Gabba and there's a 4-day defeat on the back of a 2-day defeat, and you know, you've got Australians celebrating all over the place. I've got hundreds of people just behind me here pinned up against the railings. I've got Mitch Stark signing, he's having a selfie. You know, it's an all-in Australian celebration. But anybody who's watched these 6 days will see that Australia is vulnerable. Now they're going to be stronger in Adelaide. They'll have Nathan Lyon back. I think Pat Cummins will almost certainly be back, although he hasn't played a game for months, and that's we talk about England's preparation and match preparation and match practice. Well, he hasn't played for a very long time, and so he'll have to be fairly careful, I would have thought, how he comes back. But I would. Can they win 3 out of 3? Well, as I said to you, I think semi-joking the other day. At least now they've had some preparation. At least now they've had some match practice in these 2 games. They've lost them both. They had opportunities to win them both, and I think after all the inquests have taken place, and these conversations with players have taken place in the dressing rooms, and they've all got their heads straight, and Ben Stokes has got his head straight, and he's delivered his message. Then we'll see how they come out at Adelaide, because the way the series is so far, there'll be opportunities there for England, because this is not a great Australian side. They are vulnerable. There'll be opportunities, and this time, England will have to take them.
Yeah, I think also what it comes down to a little bit is it's like the minerals. You've got some minerals here, boys. You know what I mean? You know, it's all very well and good seeing Jofra Archer, with a 3 or 4 over spell. Didn't see too much of that when the game was happening. You know what I mean? And the guys run in and everything, but I think
he came steaming in there. He was steaming.
Yeah.
He was in Steve Smith's face.
Well, absolutely. Where was that, John? Where was that, John, in the first inning?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe some rockets have already been fired.
Yeah, perhaps that's what he meant.
Absolutely. About weak men. Yeah.
Jonathan, from here to Adelaide, it's over a week now. People listening to this might not know, but England have a mini break where they go to Noosa. What do you think about that? A mini break and then off to Adelaide at the weekend for preparation for the Test match, which starts next Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I mean, the optics will be bad, and people at home listening must prepare to see lots of photographs of England's cricketers playing golf and you know that is not going to look good. Now, do you do things for optics? And what else could they do? Well, the only thing they could do alternatively is to go to Adelaide to bin Noosa, which is up on the Sunshine Coast. It's a very nice place indeed. But you bin that, you go to Adelaide. You don't practice every day. You can't practice every day. You can't net every day. But you can at least be there and preparing yourselves mentally. You go to the Adelaide Oval. You do a bit of work every day, just a little bit, before building it up. But then you can go and play your golf in the afternoon. I mean, as I've said so many times, you can't train all day. And you can't sit in your hotel room all afternoon and evening when you finish your training. You've got to do something. So, you know, playing golf is not the problem. It's just it's built. The narrative has kind of built up, which suggests that actually all they're interested in is playing golf. Well, that's not true. You know, we watch them train, we watch them work. It's unfortunate, I think, for England, and it's entirely of their own doing, that this narrative has been allowed to grow while they're losing games, and rather than playing, like, for instance, the game in Canberra, that I think people are still a bit split on, but I mean, I think that some of them should have gone and played that, just to have got used to a pink ball. There were a number of playing in this game who never played with a pink ball before. That to me would have been a more sensible approach, and I think the people listening at home would agree with that. And had they done all that and still lost, well, okay, you have your break, but that's the only thing I can think of. But I must say, I just think that the sight of them on their golf buggies over the next few days in Noosa, they're going to be drones up. They've had it already with cameras. I mean, the people at home have no idea really about the scrutiny that the England cricket team is under. There they were on those scooters in Brisbane, you know, all that stuff. They are followed all of the time. Every airport lounge they go into, it's everywhere, and they're going to have to prepare themselves for some pretty tricky headlines and photographs over these next few days. But I say, what else could they do? Yes, you can go and do some practice, but that match is nine days away. It's a long time to be having fielding practice and in the nets.
Okay, I suppose in the old days they would have had a match, wouldn't they, between test matches?
Yes, they would.
They played a
That's exactly
match. Yeah,
that's exactly it. And what they'd have done, they'd have had players in the squad who would have played in that practice match, along with people who actually needed the practice out of the main team. And then you'd sit down at the end of that practice match and before the next test say, right, who's in form? Who's playing well? Who's going to play in this next test match? Well, I think you could virtually name 1 to 11, and we've talked a bit about Bethel, but that doesn't happen. That is not happening anymore. I don't think that's old school. And you know what it was? It was also rather fun going round and going up into up-country places and just playing against the country 11, whoever it was. You saw a bit of the country. You got away from all the main players. You could clear your head. Opportunity for batsmen particularly to get some runs. It was a useful exercise, but. That's unfortunately not on the agenda this time.
Thanks very much, Angus. Glenn, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, sort of the fact they don't have a game on now, I actually don't mind them having a break. You know, listening to Ben Stokes and to Brendan McCullum, I got a different sense from it because they've always been very positive and no negativity at all, and very strong that this is the way we're going to go. Yep. And end of story. But now I'm hearing, yes, we do have issues. Yes, not playing as well as we like. They've now identified there are issues. They've accepted it. I think going away now, having a break, go up Noosa, play some golf, whatever you want to do, and really come back. Okay, now this is our mindset. We've changed. This is what we have to do things differently. Yep. They've been so strong, and they put a wall up around everyone else saying, this is the way we're going to do it. They've finally identified this doesn't work. So now they've got to have a different approach. So from here on in, their approach, once they get to Adelaide, is going to set the standard for them for the rest of the series and see if they're good enough to bounce back from here. So I'm glad they've finally identified it. Yep. Maybe it's a test or two too late, but better late than never.
No, absolutely. I think it's a change of tack. The batters are getting a little bit of stick here, but also the bowlers. If you're not, wickets are flat in Australia. They go flat. It's long, it's hot, and everything. So what do? bang it in halfway down. That hasn't worked. You know, take a leaf out of Nisa's book. Just bowl some top of off stump. You know, set some feelers back. You know, and let the opposition come to you a little bit. I think it's going to be a change attack with the ball, and I think it's going to be a slight change attack with the bat. Still looking to be positive and aggressive, but Ben Stokes, he led the way with the Bazball charge, and I think he's perhaps just shown there he's going to lead the way with a little bit more defiance.
There are always two sides to a story. We've heard the England side. There's a happy side for Australia. Victors by 8 wickets in this second test match. We can get some reaction now from the Australia camp. Captain Steve Smith has been speaking to Isha Guha.
Now I'd like to welcome up Steve Smith, who's just calmed down from his knock. Feeling a bit more relaxed now?
Yeah, pretty chilled now. It was good fun there for a little bit. So, great day of cricket. The guys toiled really hard early on. Obviously, a really good partnership with Stokesy and Jaxie there. And once we broke that, we were able to go through and get them out and chase 60. So, great day.
Let's go back to the start. You lost the toss. So, how pleasing must that be, given it's such a crucial thing in a pink ball test?
Yeah, I think the first 2 days were pretty even in terms of conditions that we both faced. No one got a new ball at the night in that first little bit, and then I think the game turned for us when we were able to, extend, everyone get into double digits. Unfortunately, no one go on to make a big one, but particularly the tail to bat for 50 overs and extend that time so we could get the new ball under lights and obviously do some damage last night was crucial for us. And it was just a really good performance.
You had 650-run partnerships there. How crucial was that, especially when England are coming hard at you and the lights are changing, the conditions are changing?
Yeah, I mean, it can be tricky with the pink ball. You're almost never in at times. Sometimes it feels a little bit easy when the ball gets a bit soft, and then you get a ball change or something. The lights come on, it speeds up a bit. It just changes really quickly, and you got to adapt. And it's a tricky game at times. But I thought the guys being able to extend those partnerships and have a lot of 50-run partnerships really helped us in the game, obviously.
And with the ball, obviously, Michael Neser was a talking point coming into the side for Nathan Lyon. He delivered.
He did. He obviously made our batting a little bit longer as well at number 8. And what he did today and in the first innings was exceptional. I think, he offers something different to the other guys. We can bring the keeper up to the stumps and change the game that way. And the way he bowled today and last night was exceptional. And, really pleased for him to get his first fifer. He's been on a lot of tours. He's worked really hard and, really pleased for him.
Wicketkeepers don't often get a good rap, but how good was Alex Carey?
He's a freak, honestly, up to the stumps. The ball just seems to end up in his hands. It hits the batter's pad or something and it still ends up in his hands. He's got no fear up there. He moves so well and his gloves are just sensational. And that was one of the best keeping performances I think I've ever seen.
And yours, top 3? Your cat?
Oh, I don't know. It's got to be up there, I reckon. They're pretty tough when you got a pink ball, the lights are on. I'm blindsided by Alex. I'm standing quite wide because Alex covers so much room, and then just fortunately saw it late and got down to it, and it stuck. It was obviously at a crucial time to break that partnership. So I'll remember that one.
Just last one for you, Steve. Pat Cummins obviously comes back for the next test match, but you're going pretty well with the captaincy. You happy to hand it back?
Yeah, all his. It's been fun. The last couple of games, the boys have put on some terrific performances and done everything I've said. So give it back to Paddy and let him take it.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Steve Smith with Isha Guha. So is it obvious, Glenn, what Australia do for Adelaide? They just bring back Lyon and they bring back Cummins and that's it?
Well, by the looks of things, that's probably what will happen. Pat Cummins hasn't played for a while, and I think back to last year when India came out, that first test match where India won in Perth, the bowling looked underdone a bit. And it wasn't until the second test that they really fired, and that includes Pat Cummins. So hopefully he's ready to go, hits the ground running. And Nathan Lyon, I think he could have played an impact out here, but then you look at what Boland and Neser did at different times. Who did they leave out? Unfortunately, I think it will be Doggett and Neser that will be left out. Neser has played 3 day-night test matches in his career, and they like their that horses for courses thing. So if Lyon and Cummins come back in, it will be Doggett and Neser that unfortunately miss out.
Nisa with 5 for 42 today. Mitchell Starc taking 2 for 64 to go with his 6 for 75 and his innings of 77. He was player of the match, and he has been speaking to Isha as well. Can we hear from Mitchell Starc?
Two player of the match awards in 2 games. You must be pretty pleased with that.
2 wins, yeah. Can't ask for much more. It's, it went a bit longer than the first test, but hard fought one, I think, for both teams, and glad to be on the right side of it.
How's that body holding up? Because you keep putting in and you keep bowling at 140 plus kilometres an hour.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer in the mornings at this age, but still going okay. Yeah, hanging in there.
And that pink ball, not swinging necessarily too much for you, but you were still able to extract the wickets. What was the key for you?
Yeah, we've sort of seen it on this ground before, when the wicket's this hard, it's sort of see that pink ball go soft pretty early. So, I think we, as a bowling unit, bowled really well across both innings. Obviously, the batting in the first innings was key to get a lead there, and Nest today was phenomenal. So, really, really pleased for him at his home ground, in front of family. He was phenomenal today.
You're so often the tone setter. Just how difficult is it to get yourself ready for that first ball? Because you make it look very easy.
I still try and do the same things, aren't I? So, it doesn't take much to get ready to go. Still trying to bowl as quick as I can and hit the stumps every time. So, just keep running in and see how we go.
Well, you've contributed so much in terms of the wickets, but what about with the bat? How much did you enjoy that?
There's no better incentive for bowlers than to bat as long as you can, to not bowl anymore. So, it was nice to put a bit of a partnership there. I think that's, you speak a little bit of the tactical side of pink ball test cricket, and we knew it was going to be better to bowl with the pink ball or hard new pink ball the later in the day. So to get through as long as we did with the bat, to put a partnership together with Scotty, and then obviously Doggy for a little bit there at the end, was really key for us to push that bowling innings as far back as we could, and we saw late in the day we got those rewards. So fantastic to contribute as a lower order.
Got a taste of what it's like to be a proper all-rounder.
I'm too old for that. I'm not sure how Stokesy and then the guys do it as long as they do. So I'll enjoy an extra day to put my feet up and get ready for Adelaide.
Well done once again, Mitch.
Thanks, Aisha.
So that's Mitchell Starc, one of Australia's match winners. There were a few, and a fine all-round performance from Australia. They win this second test match by 8 wickets, as indeed they won the first test match. Andy Zaltzman alongside me. What about the some of the individual stats from this game?
Well, let's start with Starc, back-to-back player of the match performances. As Isha said there, 18 wickets in the first 2 tests. That's the most any bowler's had after 2 tests of an Ashes series since Shane Warne had 20 after 2 matches in the 1994-95 series, and his achievement of having a 6-wicket haul and a score of 75 or more in the first innings of the test. Only 2 other players have done that in Ashes history, 2 great Australian all-rounders, Jack Gregory in the first series after the First World War and Keith Miller in the first series after the Second World War. So extraordinary performance from him with both ball and bat. And Michael Neser became the oldest seamer to take his first 5-wicket haul for Australia since a medium pacer called Harry Boyle in the 1880s, and Australia just the 5th team, slightly niche stat this, but the 5th team in Test history to have 2 pace bowlers aged 35 or more both take 5 wickets, 5-wicket innings in a series, and 2 of those were Walsh and Ambrose for the West Indies in the late 1990s. So some excellent performances from Australia's bowlers, and the nature of that team batting performance, in a way, it was a slight mixture of ruthlessness and carelessness. There were a number of shots where they sort of let England slightly back into it, but every single player scored double figures. The first Test innings in history in which all 11 players made 13 or more, and a very rare instance of a team reaching 500 without a single century stand. Only the 3rd time that has happened in Test history.
Now, Australia are 2-0 up.
Yes.
They are closing in, seemingly, on winning the Ashes. Now, they are 2-0 up after 6 days of cricket. Is there a potential record of winning the Ashes in double quick time?
In terms of days of cricket, I'll dig around between now and Adelaide. In terms of overs taken, England have batted for 219 overs and 1 ball in their 4 innings here. We had 36.4 overs in that one partnership by Stokes and Jacks today. Either side of that, they've lost 39 wickets in 182 overs, a wicket every 28 balls faced in the series. It's the fastest in terms of balls faced batting. England have never gone 2-0 down against Australia more rapidly, and by quite a significant margin. To put it in context, in the 2013-14 series, when they were destroyed by Mitchell Johnson, when they were 2-0 down, they'd faced 303 overs, so basically 85 was over a whole day's batting at modern over 8s more across the first 2 tests to go 2-0 down to the Johnson-inspired Australians then. So this has been extremely rapid. Obviously Perth was off the charts, but even here, bowled out under 80 overs in both innings. England are used to being 2-0 down on Australia. It's the 8th time in the last 10 series in Australia they've been 2-0 down after 2. They're now 17 matches without a win in Australia since the last test of the 2010-11 series, when they won by an innings to take the series 3-1. Their previous longest run of tests without a win in Australia was 12, either side of the Second World War. Even in the difficult times at the start of Australia's dominance in the early 1990s, the longest they went without an Ashes win was 9 tests. So 17 tests. Joe Root, Ben Stokes, first played on the 2013-14 series here. Neither of them has ever won a test in this country, so it's a pretty desperate statistical situation. And just picking up on one particular aspect, and again it involves Mitchell Starc. He had a 27.2 over partnership with Scott Boland that was crucial in shaping the game early yesterday. England's 8th, 9th and 10th wickets across all 4 innings of the series have lasted a total of 27.5 overs in losing their 12 wickets. They've lost a wicket every 14 balls to the 8th, 9th and 10th wickets. On paper, this is a strong England tail. On the field, it has capitulated rapidly. And you look at the comparison of the players. Atkinson with a Test 100, and a number of other scores in the 30s and 40s. Brydon Carse has a Test 50, a couple of first-class hundreds. They've just comparing them with Boland and I've lost my stat on the script, with Boland and Doggett, who've managed to bat considerably longer than England's, on paper, far stronger tail enders. So that's been a significant factor in this series, the rapidity with which England's tail subsided. We saw it again today when Stokes and Jacks had given them a glimmer of hope of at least challenging Australia, and then the tail once again disintegrated into the Brisbane air.
And most of them caught from short balls on the leg side as well. But anyway, that is another story, unless you've got something more.
Just one final niche stat. Well, the Jack-Stokes partnership, 59 in 24 overs in the morning in the first session of the day, the lowest scoring full session of the Bazball era. It was Stokes' second slowest 50 of his career, but his opposing number as captain, Steve Smith, 23 off 9 in the second innings, scored 2 sixes in each innings, the first time in his long and illustrious Test career that he's hit 4 sixes in a match, which, given the nature of Bazball, is I don't know, like an anti-cherry on the top of a disappointing cake.